So there's probably going to end up doing like a bunch of videos about this basic topic, but within the context of linguistics, there's some interesting issues that I noticed with the dogma, things that are you're expected, regardless of which like branch of the which cult within linguistics, which subcult you go into, you're expected to adhere to some certain tenets that are non-negotiable. And if you don't, you are very aggressively treated as a pariah. And so when I discovered a few of these and using my own ability to reason through things came to conclusions that are heretical, it was really interesting that suddenly, like, I would experience this pushback, this just really absurdly aggressive pushback. And for instance, one of them would be regarding challenging the validity of the Indo-European hypothesis. Right. The Indo-European hypothesis is an axiomatic dogma that if you want to do any work in linguistics, you either need to accept it or pretty much just don't talk about your concerns with the quality of this hypothesis. And it's notable because the ultimate origins of the Indo-European hypothesis, which is, that there was an Indo-European speaking people, and they spread culture throughout Europe and parts of Asia, and this is where we get languages like Hindi and Latin and English, etc. Right? It's that basic thing, and if you look it up, you'll get into all kinds of. They'll be really, really detailed about. Oh, this, and those details are absolutely pure fiction, all of them. Not that there isn't something there that's kind of suggesting, yeah, there's definitely a link between like Latin and Hindi. That's true. There is a link, but it's not necessarily true that the link is what they say it is. And the origins of this, the core origin of this grand theory comes from, I can't recall the year, I feel like it was in the 1600s. It was a monk looking at various documents in various languages, and he kind of put this together. But the idea, it's coming from a religious perspective. It's coming from a biblically religious perspective, and he was trying to reconstruct a history of the world that was commensurate with the creation story in the Bible. So we're looking at what is effectively young Earth creationism. We're assuming that the Earth is roughly 6,000 years old, and we're assuming that the planet was populated from the sons of Noah, that kind of a thing. So this is where the Indo-European hypothesis originates. Indo-European was originally, I think, Japhites. I think I'd have to look it up. I haven't actually prepared for this video. I'm just saying things as I recall them. So, but yeah, it was like the idea was that all of these languages came from this one particular lineage off of Noah, this one son off of Noah. When you view it that way, it all makes perfect sense. All of the claims in modern linguistics about Indo-European make perfect sense. But as soon as you look at it any other way with seriousness, it falls the fuck apart fast. Because right, so you have the standard claim is that the people was originally in on the steppe just north of like the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, right? And it spread from there. Well, one of the obvious problems is that generally the origin point of any language group is where you see the most diversity. And for Indo-European, the most diversity occurs in the Caucasus or Turkey. And if you look at a map, all of the branches radiate from there. There's other problems too, like for instance, words like hand and house, or like things that are just basic vocabulary, should be pretty strongly shared across a language family like this. But every single branch of Indo-European has a different root word for hand. Right? Like in Greek, it's like chera or something, right? Where you get word like chiral, like handedness, right? In Spanish, so like the Romance, it's mano, right? I guess that's more Italian, mano, right? And in English, it's hand, obviously. And then, like you look at each major branch, right? So like Germanic has things like hand. Italic has something like mano. Greek has something like chera. And when you look at all of them, they're all different. So why do they all have a different word for hand? And the problem gets worse because there are other language groups around the world that will share that same term for hand, along with a whole bunch of other vocabulary. So, for instance, the Italic has mano. Well, you're over by Italy, France, Spain, that area, right? Okay. And this is Iron Age. So, about 3,000 years ago is about when this kicks off. Okay. Well, in the Southwest United States, you have the Uto-Aztecan languages, and the root, or at least one of the main roots that occurs within Uto-Aztecan for hand, is mam. It's the same root. You just have a very slight pronunciation difference on it. That's not a borrowing from Spanish. That is a term. That is an archaic term that Uto-Aztecan has had since very ancient history. So that's interesting. And then when you look at things like pronouns, the pronoun ani for me. Okay, what is the Hebrew word for me? Ani. What is the English word for me? Me. What is, like, this is probably the same word. It has the same meaning. It's cropping up all over the world. This is interesting. You're not allowed to say this. All of this is heretical. And you will be a pariah if you try to say these things. Just point them out, and you will become a pariah. I feel like that's a problem.